All right, everybody, we're back talking with Marcia K. Moore, an amazing artist based in Florida, and she shared some information on what she does, which is recreating our ancient past in a way that I'm not aware that anybody else is doing right now. And what she's come across and been working with recently is a lot of elongated skulls. And Marcia would love to talk a little bit more about that and the fact that this cranial deformation seems to be appearing all over the world with different cultures.
Absolutely. You're seeing it all over, also here in North America, and I'm sure a lot of our North Americans are not aware of the elongated skulls or people that deform their skull to emulate who or what. So, yeah, it's seen everywhere.
I had no idea it had gotten this far up in the United States. You see it in other areas of the world, but I don't know that I'd seen any mention of cranial deformation on what is currently United States soil. How did you become aware of that?
Well, through my interest in Native American cultural areas, I became very interested in the Northwest Coast and noticed that that was mainly the place where a lot of the head binding had occurred. And then along the way, also, if you just come back around to our mound builders, and you can see the skeletal, the skull data. And just the other day, I went on a Smithsonian page, and you can actually see some of the old illustrations that show deformed skulls. So,
how do they explain those, just out of curiosity?
These were just, they're just in their files, and they have, cranial data for different tribes, and also for mound builders. And if we're talking mound builders, we're talking Adena, and we're talking possibly our larger folks. So it wasn't really explained. It's just that the data is there. And I received a lot of illustrations through that. I downloaded all those. So.
Now, definitely. Now, the existence of that kind of activity over here would, to me, suggest the possibility of ancient migration, ancient cross-oceanic sea travel, perhaps. Is that anything you've come across with the researchers you've been working with?
Well, the researchers most definitely will tell you that, and through them, I would also believe that is definitely a possibility. Absolutely. Just makes sense, but we need more than that. So a lot of these alternative researchers have come up with some strong theories. So
I mean, something at some point historically must have motivated those people to want to assume that kind of appearance, and to have that occur at different places around the world, separated by geography and hundreds of years. I wonder what it possibly could have been.
I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I could. That's the question, and I wish I could give an answer to that. I don't know.
It's what we're all working towards.
That's what we're all working towards. Absolutely. Actually, what I'm just working towards is reconstructing and interpreting these individuals, and how that fits into what these other researchers, these hardcore book researchers, are really coming up with. And if it fits in there, that's fantastic.
Now, there's one of the things that we've noticed. We were fortunate enough to take a road trip through the Ohio Valley and get out to West Virginia and actually visit a lot of these mound sites in person. Amazing sites. I had no idea the extent to which these people had populated this country.
I have yet to see them physically. Living down here in Florida, you will see a lot of the mounds that are made of shells, and they're called shell middens. And the mound complex that is up in Crystal River is quite extensive, with a very large ceremonial mound that I would say looks very similar to those that are up north in the Ohio Valley, and also that of Cahokia. Very connected, and also you can see how that connects then also to the south of us as well, Central and South America. So.
You mentioned Crystal River. You've done some interesting work in the visitor center there. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very honored to create a mural for the Crystal River Museum, and they asked me to do that last year, and that is up, and the public can view that now. Um, that was very interesting because they were very open to depicting as best as possible the mounds, um, and not give it that kind of stereotypical old Native American kind of feel to it. They really um, they wanted the feel of how Cahokia was
Right.
very engineered. You could see how it was elaborate. It was fantastic, and Crystal River seemed to be that hub, and brought in a lot of people from all over, and it was a hub, and it was used as for ceremony. It was used also as a burial area, which I find interesting. And there's a large burial mound on the complex as well.
How far is it from the actual coastline? How far inland is that site?
I would say, well, it's in, you're on the Gulf side, and you have a intercoastal riverway that's running, and that's where it sits.
Right.
So it's very close, very close. Yeah, you can see the Gulf from standing on top of the mound, the ceremonial mound.
And it appears to us, having seen the photos, having not been there yet, but it appears that there's a lot of flat top pyramids there, which would, well, be a sign of what we see down south in Mesoamerica. Yes.
Here in Florida, with
Even the Crystal River.
middens, yeah, most definitely could tell that the middens were, again, emulating different architecture from North America and South America, most definitely. hmm And also you have another mound that you guys would be very interested in, probably taking a trip to see, and it's called Mound Key, and it's located on the Gulf side as well, and Estero Bay, in the Estero Bay area. But this midden is actually man-made. It was a huge island that was made of shells, and the Calusa, the ancient Calusa, that was their ceremonial area as well, their chief, and all of their big ceremonies were held on this island. So it's quite a wonderful place. You guys might be interested in
Absolutely.
trekking there,
Especially if
for
you'll
sure.
come with us.
Yeah, are you coming? All right.
Absolutely.
You're on.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got the boat captain that can take us out there
Beautiful.
too. So
Excellent.
we'll be able
We're
to
booking
rock.
flights tomorrow.
Okay, great. That would be
Absolutely.
fun.
Now, could you tell us a bit about the exact work that you did for Jason and Sarah? It's really interesting to me how they acquired a photo of a cranium. Just could you maybe walk us through that whole process, how they found it, what you did for them specifically, and
Well, with Jason and Sarah and anyone else that comes to me that has any cranial information, any data, they delivered me the actual measurements of this Adena skull, this male. And so it's based off of that. And it's also based off of some photographs that were taken. So I got a real clear indication on how this guy looked, most definitely. And again, it wasn't a human type of natural skull formation. It did have some vault to it, so it was definitely a different form of skull. And a lot of these giants appear to have that as well.
how big was
So,
that fella?
This guy stood about 8 foot tall, and actually, what I'm going to do is print it out. Kind of do a
Oh,
cutout.
cool.
And yeah, I want to do a cutout of the reconstruction and just see what this guy would look like. Just kind of print it out and standing by it and looking up at this guy. So we'll see how that looks. I'll show you guys when I'll send.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to see those. Well, he looked real
Absolutely.
chunky too. It's not just the height on these things; they're so thick.
Well, and that's my own interpretation. But I'm also basing this off of a little bit of the physical characteristics that one would see even with some of the Native Americans, since they probably were connected in some way. I believe there probably was a connection there as far as, some interbreeding of some sort there. So I made this reconstruction, a little bit more, and if you look at some of the giants that we've seen just in time, and, some of these big physical wrestler guys, I mean, very barrel-chested individuals, and I think if you're 8 foot and you've got a skull that can sit, the jaw that can kind of sit over one's, like my face or yours, these guys are pretty robust. They're big individuals. But I also think they come in all different shapes and sizes, as far as they could be probably tall and lanky as well. So, but I felt this individual was pretty robust. Again, this is my interpretation, but through this interpretation, at least it gets people to think about the process, to think about the giants.
Absolutely.
So.
We appreciate that. Now,
Yeah,
you had also mentioned beings of extremely small size, and we've heard that these folks are mentioned repeatedly in several cultures. In Hawaii, ancient Hawaiians, the mini
Ireland.
Yeah, Ireland.
All throughout Europe.
Yeah, have you done any recreation?
Any cultural areas here in North America, any Native American cultural areas will speak of the little people. And I have not recreated any of these individuals, but that would be definitely something I would take on. Maybe the Star Child, and when you see that skull, maybe that might lend itself to that stature.
Are you familiar with a researcher named Steve Quayle?
Steve Quayle. If I am, I'm not. The name is not.
Okay. Apparently, he's done some research into these wee folk.
Here in North America, or just all over
I don't know
the
what his
planet,
travels
or?
are, but yeah, North America, definitely. Other parts of the world. I mean, to the best of our.
Yeah, I'm sure just through, like I said, I've had little side trails emerge, the elongated skulls of giants, and I'm sure at some point I'll get to the little people as well. So, and then the name will be familiar because I'll research it a little bit. But no, it'll be something interesting to investigate. Absolutely. I'm a one-woman show. I can only do so much. I mean, I would love, and I do actually work kind of 24/7 to get these things done. It just seems like the right thing to do. So I think we're at a turning point on this planet that everyone is going to want more and more of this information, and they need to see it. Visually, it's something that, you can have all the data and all the research, but if you need, for most people, they need that visual. They need that something that they can just see, put a face to this skull, and that helps immensely. So I think it's very important to have these.
Yeah, are you familiar with L.A. Marzulli at all?
Yeah, I am. Very much so. Yeah, I've worked with L.A. a little bit. Some of my imagery is in a couple of his books. Yeah.
All right. What do you think of L.A.'s opinions?
Well, I think everyone, to be honest with you, there is no, I'm very open as far as people's theories and their thinking, and LA is extremely directed and extremely on a journey. So I will listen to his information just as I would listen to anybody else's information. I think there's a lot out there that it just, when it all comes together, that'll be great. But I'm not deleting anybody's information.
And there's a lot out there. It just seems that we're not readily availed to it. And in this day and age, you have to make an effort to find it. Why do you think that is?
Well, there again, I think a lot of people are just so caught up in the amnesia of life. They're caught up in making life work day to day. And this is not high on the list. I don't think enough people know to even consider this, to be honest with you. But as time goes by, more and more people will definitely wake up to our history. I mean, here in North America, I know anyone that has kids and is, putting children through the school system, question what we're being taught. I mean, is this full truth? It isn't. I mean, it just isn't. So, I don't know when everyone's going to snap open to this. I just don't know. I know that I have, as far as this was a part of my life from a very, very young age. I questioned everything. I really did. And even though I felt like I was in a community where I had to kind of be conditioned, so to speak, and follow a certain path, I questioned it every step of the way. And now at this age, I'm like, all right, come on. Let's get the truth out there.
It's a club. We meet regularly.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Yep,
The tribe is getting
it
bigger,
is.
so to speak. And we are coming together, and that's very important in itself right there. When you feel like you're alone in this, then you don't want to share this information, do you? I mean, you two have had each other to bounce this off of, and that's phenomenal. That's fantastic. But for most people, if this isn't a part of conversation, you don't bring it up too much. I mean, it gets poo-pooed too easily, so.
We've been looked at several times like we have multiple heads. It's it happens regularly.
Absolutely.
Now, just out of curiosity, where did you get your inquisitive nature, the incessant curiosity to find truth, to know that there was something out there, or feel that there was something more to learn?
Well, that again is, you just said the word, feel, that there's something more to learn. I mean, it just came naturally for me to question. And a lot of things that even through the beginning, even as a child, that just didn't feel correct to me. Something just didn't feel correct. I followed like a lot of people do, but at the same time, I questioned. I was like, something's just not right about this. And now, I mean, what a wonderful feeling to even question it. Now it feels like a whole load has been taken off my shoulders, just knowing that I can question this, and there isn't some kind of ridiculous answer given to me. So it's a real wonderful freedom, and maybe that's the problem right there. Maybe knowing that people will feel the freedom of it is the problem.
Perfect.
Outstanding.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back.
Two punk archaeologists explore the world's ancient indigenous cultures and mystical sites. All these ancient sites in the Southwest align perfectly with the Orion constellation.
The Hopi have celestial blood in their veins.
Giant human skeletons have been found all over the world.
But why were they big in the first place?
In general, society is not going to be compelled to find answers that are going to have to cause them to think and shift their paradigm.
Simply because their conclusions are at odds with what the Smithsonian would later attempt to propagate.
I think eventually we will get to the truth.
So what does that mean to you, Haas?
It means punk's not dead.
All right, we're back with Marcia K. Moore. Marcia, let's dive back in. I'd love to see some of the work that you've created. Maybe you could share some things with our audience.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons that I got into 3D and creating 3D software, as a fine artist, it was a perfect tool to create a fine art that wasn't limited. Like if I wanted to take all of the information to a bronze foundry, I could get all of my sculpting information output at any size. And that's one of the basic reasons why I got into 3D. So it didn't limit me as far as size, as far as making something very small or something very monumental. When I got to recreating some of these reconstructions, I thought, you know what, this will be very interesting to reconstruct this in 3D and then output it with a 3D printer to see exactly how this looked full circle. So I have a few of these with me.
Cool.
And I hope you can see these.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Oh, my.
Look at that.
So through the files of creating a reconstruction, then you can output through a 3D printer, and this is what you get. So
that's amazing. Wow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Very cool.
And what was the source of the skeletal remains that piece was predicated on?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, I asked what the source of the skeletal remains were that piece was predicated on.
That actually, and all of these that I'll be showing you, were from remains that Brian has down in his museum down in Caracas.
So all Peruvian.
All
Yes,
Peruvian. Oh, wow.
But we'll get one of those giants printed out, so.
That is amazing.
Isn't that cool?
That's incredible.
So, for me, looking at this as, an artist, I'm like, well, how does one walk with this particular elongated cranium?
Right.
Or even how does one, anything. So how does the posture, it helps a lot just through creating these 3D prints to see how some of these guys walked and possibly talked. So
that's amazing.
I guess the next step would be to get them to walk and talk. So we can do that.
That would help us working at the computer if we had that kind of a head, wouldn't it? Help you lean back a little bit, keep the back straight.
Straighten your posture out of pinch.
Yeah. You can lean up against the wall and just have really good posture. Yeah, I think that the form probably just corresponded to the elongated skull. I don't think that, I believe a lot of interpretation through researchers is that there was heavily muscled, and probably was heavily muscled, but I don't think it was like this stiff, rigid body. I believe it probably had a wonderful suede shape to it that, that formed a wonderful feel when they walked. So I can see it visually. We'll see if I can interpret it sometime.
Very cool.
Animate those people into motion.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So that was the process. That's how I got interested in making some of these 3D prints through some of the 3D sculpture files. Easily done. So.
Well, we noticed that the facial features look pretty different from skull to skull, which is interesting for people that supposedly found in the same area.
Absolutely, and one of the main differences that you see with a lot of these skulls, definitely the eye sockets. And I have played with that a million times over, and I think what changes for me is just maybe the size of the eye changes. I think a lot of it is very Asian, very almost Japanese feel to it as far as the eyes. And I'm not so sure that the eyes were bigger as much as maybe the physical covering, the padding was all-consuming, and maybe I appeared normal. I have it kind of appearing more normal than not. So, but I get questioned on that all the time. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not really sure about that.
Well, the Asian...
Also, the jawline, extremely robust jaws, very sturdy, very chiseled. Teeth, you can see that there's, it seems like with most of these, there's a little bit of an overbite feeling, a real massive jawness to this, a massive mouth. So, very interesting, most definitely.
Have you come across any yet that have had the double rows of teeth that we hear about?
I have heard about this, and I actually have a reconstruction that has double rows of teeth. I haven't shown that to anybody, but if you're lucky, maybe I'll send you guys a
please.
And I don't know. There again, I guess it's you hear it a lot with a lot of these clippings that are out there, a lot of the historical clippings that are out there. So absolutely, I'm sure it's a possibility.
On the Asian aspects too that you just mentioned, on skulls that were found in Peru, we've come across data that suggests that that ocean could have been crossed by those people a long time ago.
I think so. I mean, that's ridiculous not to think that, they didn't cover some territory. I'm sure that they sailed to all of these continents, and most definitely that's how we're seeing all of this all over the world. So.
Are there any skulls that you've come across recently, having completed the project with Jason and Sarah? Any other part of the world that you'd like to delve into?
Well, like I said, we've stayed close to home just because I think it's important that people here in North America understand that this happened right here.
Sure.
But I have been working on a skull that was found in France, and that's a female skull. And I've created with my own interpretation some of these individuals from all over the world. So, but I like to stay close to home with the data that I'm receiving because I think that's important. It's better for me as far as reconstructing, that I understand what's going on here before I start firing off all over the place. So, and I seem to be a little bit more connected to this over here. It seems to be a little bit more personal for me. So you'll see a lot of reconstructions from this area. And don't be surprised if you don't see some that were from, down here in Florida as well, because even the Spanish, some of the conquistadors talked about this, in their writings as well, large stature chiefs. So most definitely you're going to see a lot that's uncovered right here in North America.
There's a heck of a lot to work with, isn't there? There's far more than we ever knew. And still know, I'm sure.
In your travels, are you guys going all over the world? Are you staying connected just here, or what do you do?
We're taking the road to ruins wherever it leads.
Take the road to ruins. I guess it just wherever it leads, right?
You got it.
We've done Mesoamerica. As it stands presently, we've explored some of the folks from the Southwest, specifically the ancestors of the Hopi, the Hisatsinim. Spent a fair bit of time down south with the Maya people. Have dug into the mound builders and the giant culture here in North America, and where that takes us next most likely will be probably towards you.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
I lived in New Mexico for 15 years and was always extremely curious about all of the anything native in that area. So different than what you would see from any of the other cultural areas, and I was always curious about some of these cultures that just got up and left, so to speak.
Right.
So different, and yet connections all across the board.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have to take a trip, I think, probably over to Crystal River, and that'll be our connection.
Excellent.
I think that,
We're totally in.
There's a lot to this mountain complex.
Well, we're looking forward to that. In the meantime, Marcia, is there anything you'd like to leave folks with?
Well, if you want to see more of my reconstruction interpretations, my 3D sculptural works, definitely visit my website. And that's Marcia, MarciaKMoore.com. And follow me on Facebook. I'm always posting and always trying to show people as I process this. So that will be the best thing.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Can't wait to get down there and see you.
Absolutely. You guys need to get down here.
We're coming.
Time is now. It's beautiful.
Yeah, not so much here. We're on our way.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you very
Marcia.
much. We appreciate it.
And thank you all very much for joining us today. Please go check out Marcia's website. Her work is just amazing. Thank you so much, Marcia.
You're welcome.